Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to our latest Railbookers webinar. Great to have so many of you joining us this sunny, at least it's sunny where I am, sunny Tuesday afternoon. I can see that we've got people tuning in as I speak. So what we'll do is we'll just pause for around about a minute just to allow those of you who are just tuning in time to get settled, comfortable, get the audio working and so on. I can see we've had a couple of questions through already asking about the map and the handouts that are free to download. You should have a link to those on your screen. If it's not working or you can't locate them, don't worry, just drop us a line in the questions field asking if we can email those over to you, and we'll send them through by email probably tomorrow for you. So don't worry if you can't download them, we'll make sure those are sent through within the next day or so. So once again, we'll just pause for around about another minute just to allow everyone who's tuning in time to get settled and comfortable, and we'll start in around about 1 minute's time. So looking forward to it and speak to you all then. Good afternoon once again, and welcome to those of you who've just joined us. Welcome to our latest Railbookers webinar. Great to have so many people here this Tuesday evening. Today's theme is our top 5 Italian lake holidays. My name is Matt, and it's my pleasure to be with you this afternoon. Just to run down the process or the running order for this evening. We'll start off with a very brief introduction, mainly for the benefit of anyone who's new to Railbookers, perhaps not familiar with how we work or what's entailed. Then we'll just take a quick second to answer a question that we're getting an awful lot at the moment, which is how rail operators over in mainland Europe are currently making things as safe as possible for travel. We're getting asked an awful lot, even though nobody's obviously traveling right now. What measures are in place, what's going on. So we'll take a moment to answer that. Then we'll look at the main part of the webinar, which is obviously the top 5 Italian lake holidays. And hopefully we'll have time to answer a question or two at the end. I can see they've started coming through already, which is excellent. We won't probably have time to get around to everybody's questions. So if I don't answer yours, don't despair. We'll make sure that one of the team reaches out to everybody probably tomorrow just to answer that question. So we'll answer every single one way or the other, one way or another. If you don't have a question but you just fancy saying hello or letting us know where you're tuning in from this afternoon or where you're interested in traveling to next once you've decided on your next trip, then by all means feel free to let us know that as well. We love hearing from you. So anything at all, feel free to drop us a line or two using the question box there. All right, let's make a start. So first of all, I do just need to let you know that we do have a pick your perk offer taking place at the moment. And what that entails is that we'll add a select amount to a certain number of holidays on our website, and you can use that amount to pick your own perk. That might be upgrading your train travel or upgrading your hotel accommodation, perhaps. And that could be either upgrading to a higher category of hotel or maybe upgrading the room in the hotel that you've originally chosen. Equally, you could use it to extend your stay, add on some extra sightseeing tours, lots of different options available. You can find out more by visiting our website, railbookers.co.uk, for anyone who doesn't know, or you can give us a call, of course, if you fancy doing that, whichever you prefer. We do also have our latest brochures, which are available online now. We've got our main Railbookers brochure with a selection of our top-selling rail holidays around the world, but also a couple of new ones this year. We've got a dedicated luxury rail journeys brochure, which will focus on a number of holidays featuring some of the great luxury train journeys around the world. And for anyone who's looking for a holiday closer to home, we also have a UK independent rail holidays brochure as well. And last but very much not least, if you have a river cruise booked or are thinking of booking a river cruise over the next year or so, then we've got our cruise extensions brochure, which is some great ideas that you can use to bookend your river cruise, perhaps adding on a short trip before or after by rail to extend that trip a little bit more. So lots of great ideas available. Again, visit the website to access those. So as promised, a brief introduction. So for anyone who isn't as familiar with who we are and what we do, here's a select number of reasons why travellers love Railbookers and travelling on a holiday by train with us. Firstly, we've got the rail expert knowledge. As we like to say, we speak rail. We know everything from the best routes, the best combinations, and the best ways of putting together the perfect rail holiday. And that can be one of any number of different types of holiday by train, really. Could be anything from a city break to a luxury rail experience. As we just mentioned, it could be an add-on or extension to a river cruise to do a little bit more travel by train. Could be a multi-centre combination, multi-country maybe, or just ticking off one or two of those destinations that you've always wanted to visit, but for whatever reason never quite got around to it. Whatever it might be, there's lots of different types of holiday that you can do. Nothing is too complicated for us to be able to do for you, and it could be travel from any time from tomorrow to 2 years in advance. Admittedly, at the moment, sadly, none of us are able to travel tomorrow, are we, right now? But really, it can be, from whenever you're looking to start up to 2 years out. We've got you covered. Any destination, any date, any length of time. If the train goes there, then so do we. We also have a maximum flexibility offer in place at the moment. So for all of you, if you make a booking before the 30th of June this year, if you need subsequently to change your travel dates or postpone the holiday, you can do that up until 5 days prior to departure without incurring any change fees or penalty fees to do so. So for peace of mind, if you make a booking up to the 30th of June this year, if you need to subsequently change the dates or postpone the holiday, you can do. You also benefit from 24-hour support from our global team, not just here in London, but also our colleagues in Sydney, Australia, Toronto, Canada, and East and West Coast, USA too. An additional benefit of traveling with Railbookers is that we have direct rail partnerships with all the main rail operators around the globe. You can see a selection of them here, our good friends and partners at Trenitalia, Deutsche Bahn, SNCF, Renfe, who are Spanish railways, Swiss railways, Eurostar, where so many of our trips begin, of course, and across the pond with Via Rail in Canada, Amtrak, and many more too. And what that means is, firstly, you'll always have access to the best available prices as part of your rail holiday, because we work directly with all of the operators themselves. But that's how we're able to offer all of the holidays that you see up to 2 years in advance, meaning that you will always confirm, even if you're booking 2 years out, at the current year's prices, so you're never going to be subject to any price increases that might happen in the meantime between confirming your holiday and then waiting to travel. Now, as promised, this is the question that we keep getting asked at the moment, for very obvious reasons, of course, as to how rail operators over in mainland Europe are maintaining a safe travel environment. And the answer to that is by doing a number of different things, really, most of which are quite similar to what's happening in the UK. Firstly, facial coverings in stations and on trains are required for all passengers and staff. In many cases at the moment, operators are stopping the sale of food and drink on board trains too. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't bring a picnic on board and enjoy it. Of course, you could do. It just means that at the moment, a lot of opportunities to buy food and drink on board have been stopped for the time being. The existing seat configuration and seat allocation on board trains has been changed too. That's to allow for that all-important social distancing where possible, and for the same reason, where possible, they're carrying out contactless ticket control, again, just with the emphasis on keeping that space wherever possible. And of course, already existing cleaning and sanitation measures have been increased too. Right, so that's the introduction out of the way. Now let's look at our top 5 most popular holidays to the Italian lakes, or featuring the Italian lakes. And these top 5 are the top 5 most popular right now. So that's the combination of people booking for later this year and also booking for next year too. So this is the top 5 most popular trips that we're seeing involving the Italian lakes at the current time. Quick couple of points of housekeeping before we start. You'll see a map for each one on the first slide, and you'll see that the journey begins in London. Now, of course, if you're not based in London or the southeast and you'd like us to add on travel from your local train station, of course we can. That's no problem at all. So if you see London, that could just as easily be, if not quite your doorstep, it could certainly be your local train station. Secondly, where occasionally you'll see an aeroplane symbol on the map too, that means that there'll be often 2 options, an option to return home by air or by rail. So if you were to find this particular holiday on our website, there'll be an option to travel out by train and a flight back, and equally an option to return by rail as well. So some people like to take the train one way and return home by air. Other people prefer to travel by train in both directions. So whichever option you prefer, there'll be 2 options available. Right, so our first holiday is Venice and Lake Garda via the Alps. Here we start off from London with direct Eurostar to Paris, around about 2 hours and 20 minutes. And after a straightforward change in Paris, it's a direct high-speed TGV Lyria train to Geneva, which is a perfect place to break the journey and have an overnight stay on the way to Italy. The next day, it's one of the most stunning train journeys in Europe that you can do, really, traveling along the stunning Simplon Pass through the Swiss Alps, amazing scenery, heading into Italy and spending 3 nights in Venice. We include on this particular holiday a tour out to the islands of Murano, Burano and Torcello. So amongst other things, you can see glass blowing and some of those wonderful multicolored houses and much more besides. Then it's 3 nights in Desenzano on the shores of Lake Garda for a 3-night stay, including a sunset cruise. And then you have the choice of either heading to a short train journey of about half an hour or so to Verona and flying home from there, or alternatively taking the train to Turin, having an overnight stay in Turin and a chance to explore there before the following day taking the train through the French Alps this time onto Paris and then subsequently London. So it's Geneva. That's the first port of call on this via the Alps holiday. A great place to break up the travel, as I said before. All of the hotels that we use in Geneva are in the old town, a short walk from the train station, and very conveniently located to visit the lake as well. A perfect place to have a stroll, either pre or post dinner, or both perhaps. And you can see, in fact, around about 11 o'clock on the screen there, the jet d'eau, the famous jet of water spurting up into the air. That's a real symbol of Geneva. So perfect place to start our rail holiday. And then the next day, you have that wonderful journey that I was referring to, traveling over the Simplon Pass. And now when we talk about this journey, because it's been popular for a long time and it featured on a number of our holidays, we often feature images of the mountains, of course, the Alps, picture postcards, Swiss scenery, all of which you do indeed get to experience. But over the last couple of webinars, when this particular journey has come up, we've realized that we don't often mention some of the Great Lakes that you get to see as well. In fact, one of the very first experiences and bits of scenery that you would get to take in is after leaving Geneva, the train actually skirts and follows around Lake Geneva itself as it heads through the likes of Lausanne and Montreux before carrying on further south and heading into Italy. And then once you've actually entered Italy, you'll get views like the one you can see on the screen at the moment. This was taken on a trip a couple of years ago. And this is Lake Maggiore, which you would actually pass by on the way through to Milan and then Venice. And you get some great shots of the lake. You can see the mountainous backdrop there, and also you can see the tiny Borromean Islands in the center of the lake as well. So some wonderful scenery, not just mountains, lakes as well, plenty of greenery, and it really is one of the greatest rail journeys in Europe, I think. Whilst in Venice, there's a number of different hotels that we feature there. And we mentioned the pick your perk option at the start of this webinar. And one way that you could do that is by upgrading your hotel room in Venice, perhaps. Here's an example. This is one of our featured properties. It's the Sena Centurion Palace, one of the few hotels in Venice which is not just located just off the Grand Canal, but has its own restaurant that opens out onto the Grand Canal too. Fantastic location, and many of the upgraded rooms and suites feature these wonderful period pieces like the antique fireplace that you can see here. So absolutely stunning, great location, and lots of great options to upgrade the hotel room as well. After Venice, we head on to Lake Garda, of course. And on this particular holiday, you'll be staying in Desenzano on the southern shores of the lake. Garda is the largest of the Italian lakes. And wherever you stay, definitely what I would recommend, to be honest, with any of the Italian lakes, really, the best way of getting the most out of them and seeing as much as possible and different views, different scenery, is to travel by boat. In each of the lakes, one of the main ways that you can travel from one town to another is by traveling on one of the frequent boat connections that will run across the lake, connecting all of the various towns. And it really helps to better understand and appreciate the sheer scale and size of the lakes themselves, but also you see different viewpoints, different shorelines, different parts of the lake as you travel across. And it's just the best way to experience all the different landscapes and scenery, really. Very inexpensive way of heading around the lake, and a great way of just taking it all in and best appreciating all of that scenery. Also, whilst in Desenzano, an absolute must visit is there's a former Roman villa there that you can visit the remains of the villa, and also there's an antiquarium close by which has got a lot of the findings that were excavated from the villa as well that you can visit too. So lots to see in Desenzano. A really nice place to use as a base to explore the lake. As I say, if you get out on the water, that's the best way to fully appreciate the beautiful destination that you're in. I always think when we're talking about a holiday by train, to make it a top-notch holiday, really there's two great components to that. A great scenic journey, ideally to start things off, and then of course a wonderful destination to visit after that. And this holiday ticks both boxes. I think it's got the scenic journey from Switzerland into Italy, and then a couple of great, fantastic destinations to visit after that too. Next up, it's our trip to Florence and Lake Como via the Alps once again. That means the first part of the journey is pretty similar. We've got the overnight stay in Geneva, and then the next day you travel once again along the stunning Simplon Pass through the Alps into Italy, this time as far as Milan, and then just a change of platforms in Milan before taking the really short journey onto Lake Como. We have a 2-night stay in Lake Como, including a private walking tour, which what seems a lifetime ago, but in fact was only late 2019. I was actually lucky enough to experience that myself, and very, very informative and interesting it is too. You learn lots that, well, certainly in my case, lots that I didn't know before, and see all of the main places of interest and a few little interesting nooks and crannies off the beaten track as well. Then it's time to head south to Tuscany for a 2-night stay in Florence. We include a skip the line tour of the Accademia, and then you have the choice. You can either head over to Pisa and fly home from there, or you can take the train up to Turin, overnight in Turin once again, and then travel home through the French Alps onto Paris, and then finally London after that. And what a beautiful destination to start things off. Absolutely stunning. Lake Como. Again, really recommend heading out by boat to explore the lake. It's actually a giant Y shape, Lake Como, and you really do just see a lot more by heading out by boat and visiting perhaps one of the other towns along the lake. Absolutely beautiful. The old town, really interesting as well. Lots of history there, lots to explore. The walking tour, as I mentioned, is absolutely great to get a better understanding of a history of Como. One other thing that I would definitely recommend is you can travel by funicular railway up to the town of Brunate, which nestles in the hills just above Como, and you get some wonderful views up there. It's a very inexpensive trip, only costs a couple of euros, but you get some wonderful views from up there, looking down over the lake, over the old town, and the surrounding Alps as well. So another good way to occupy a lunchtime. Perhaps there are a couple of cafes and restaurants up there too, which you can sit outside and enjoy the views, and perhaps have a couple of drinks or lunch or a coffee or whatever it might be, and a highly enjoyable way to spend an afternoon. And then Florence is our next port of call. I mentioned we have a walking tour included in Florence here. Now, one of my favorite things about Florence as a destination, I think, is that it is extremely walkable. Anyone who's been there before, I'm sure, will agree with me that it's very easy to access all of the main sites and places of interest. They're all very easy to explore on foot. You don't really need to use public transport or taxis or anything like that. It's all very easy to explore. And one of the nice things about a walking tour is that it gives you your bearings, your orientation if you're new to the destination. And even if you're not, it's good to have an overview and learn something new, perhaps about the history of the destination. In this case, with Florence, there's so many beautiful buildings to see, that great Renaissance architecture, lots and lots of history. And we've got here the Ponte Vecchio bridge over the River Arno. Lots of history there, almost a living museum in many ways. Now, I mentioned at the start of the webinar that the Pick Your Perk offer that we have at the moment gives you lots of different ways that you can take advantage of the offer we have to upgrade your trip, either by upgrading the travel or perhaps the hotel experience as one example. And just to explain a little bit about how that works, you can upgrade as often or as infrequently with us as you like. So often when you're looking at a holiday, sometimes there are lots of different itineraries out there, and sometimes you have to go, if you want to upgrade You have to go with 5-star all across the board in every single destination. With us, that doesn't have to be the case. It certainly could be if you'd like to, but it might be that you just want to upgrade in one destination because that happens to be where you'd be celebrating a special occasion, maybe a birthday or an anniversary, whatever it might be, or it's just, you know, a particular destination that you'd like to splash out on a little bit of luxury and do something special. Whatever the reason, everybody's different and everybody has their own idea of the perfect rail holiday. So you can either stay in, you know, 3, 4 or 5-star hotels in every destination, or you might be happy staying 3 or 4-star everywhere else but want to upgrade in one particular destination. Whatever works for you, that's absolutely fine. And here's a great example of how you could do that in Florence. This is the beautiful Villa San Michele, a 4-star, sorry, former medieval monastery in the hills just outside of Florence. Absolutely stunning location, beautiful backdrop, and just one of the many different ways that you could choose to upgrade your hotel experience. Now, next up, we have Lake Como once again, and this time combined with one of the greatest rail experiences, I'd say, not just in Europe, but in the world, probably. Not even, there's no probably about it. What am I talking about? Definitely. It's the famous Bernina Express. So here we start off in London once again, and that's by taking the Eurostar from London to Paris first of all. And rather than Geneva, this time we take the direct high-speed TGV Lyria to Zurich for an overnight stay. Ample opportunity to perhaps explore the old town, the lake as well at Zurich. Lots of opportunities for al fresco dining in that part of the world. And then the next day, it's the short train journey to Chur, the oldest town in Switzerland, where you would catch the famous Bernina Express. And the scenery, as we'll see in a moment, absolutely stunning as you head into Italy, crossing the border into Tirano, and then from there carrying on by train for a 3-night stay in Lake Como, where we've just seen what a beautiful destination that is. And again, after that, you've got the choice is yours, whether you choose to fly home, in this case from Milan, or carry on to Turin for an extra night and then return by train the following day. And this is some of the beautiful scenery that you would see as part of the Bernina Express journey. The entire route that the train takes is UNESCO World Heritage listed. So that gives you an idea of the breathtaking backdrops that you'd see, everything from lakes as we have here to mountains, valleys, the whole gambit is there, lots of different types of scenery. And one of the most famous shots that you've probably seen is of the red train with the big panoramic windows going over the Landwasser Viaduct. That's something you would get to experience on this particular train journey. It's a lot of famous images about train travel in Europe and worldwide. In fact, it's on one of our brochures as well on the front cover, amongst many other places, I'm sure, as well. But stunning scenery, and not just that, the whole journey is also a miracle of engineering is probably the best way to describe it, I think. You start off at sea level and then gradually climb up using a series of spirals and bridges to ascend higher and higher. And at its highest point, that is 7,381 feet above sea level, which is pretty impressive. And then you use the same series of spirals and so on to descend once you've reached that highest point too. All of the carriages have these wonderful panoramic windows, meaning that everybody gets a fantastic view of the scenery. All of the seats line up perfectly with the windows, and it's just a wonderful experience, and justifiably, as I said before, no probably about it. What was I thinking saying probably? It is one of the greatest and most scenic rail journeys in the world. And in Como, this is our featured hotel on this particular holiday. This is the Grand Hotel Metropole and Swiss, which benefits from a wonderful location in the heart of the old town, right by the lake. Perfect location to explore the town of Como itself, and of course the lake too. Many of the rooms, as you can see here, have views of the lake. I think you can probably just about make it out from your screen that you can see the lake from many of the hotel rooms here. So if you'd like a room with a view of the lake, then make sure you ask about that when you inquire. Next up, a slightly longer holiday. So if you like the sound of some of these Italian lakes that we've looked at, maybe Garda or Como, then on this particular holiday we feature not one, not two, but three of the Italian lakes, as well as plenty of great Swiss scenery as well. This is our Grand Italian Lakes and Swiss Mountains holiday. And as you can see, it's a longer one, 16 days in total. Here we begin in Rome, the Italian capital, of course, the Eternal City, with a 2-night stay, which you can either start by heading from by rail or by air from the UK. So 2 nights in Rome. Then we head north for 2 nights in Lake Maggiore, 2 nights in Lake Como, and 2 nights in Lake Garda, before heading to Milan for an overnight stay, and then taking the train up to Tirano to catch that Bernina Express journey that we've just talked about, from Tirano up into Switzerland, in this case having an overnight stay in St. Moritz in the Graubünden region. Then the next day you will take the sister train, I suppose, in some ways, equally famous, the Glacier Express, across some of the most mountainous parts of Switzerland, from St. Moritz across to the southwest and Zermatt, where you would have a 2-night stay. While you're in Zermatt, you would have a day trip on the Gornergrat cogwheel railway, where you get some absolutely stunning views of the nearby Matterhorn mountain. And then after Zermatt, it's time to head up to Interlaken for a 2-night stay, including a day trip to the Jungfrau Railway, the highest railway station in Europe, with amazing views. You can see as far as the Black Forest into Germany, France. Absolutely wonderful trip of a lifetime, with some amazing views from there. And then we finish things up heading up to Zurich for an overnight stay before returning by train to London via Paris. So lots included here, lots of beautiful scenery, great Italian lakes, Swiss lakes and mountains. And of course, this includes one of the Italian lakes that we haven't really spoken about so far today, and that is Lake Maggiore. And as you can see here, once again, absolutely beautiful setting, beautiful backdrop, great scenery. Here you would be based in the town of Stresa. Maggiore is the second largest lake in Italy. Again, beautiful, beautiful blue. I think as we've not been able to travel anywhere really for the last year or so, sometimes somehow it makes it even nicer in a way to be able to look at images like this together and just start to think about places we might like to travel to once travel resumes, or look forward to a trip we've already got booked, or perhaps just bring back happy memories of previous holidays, whatever it might be. It's nice at least to be able to do all of that together, I think. And the little islands that you can see in the center of the lake, these are the Borromean Islands that we saw briefly actually on the first holiday that we looked at, heading past Lake Maggiore by train on the way to Venice. And you can visit these islands as well by boat, as well as crisscrossing around the lake, and they're well worth a visit. Two of the best ones, I think, are first of all Isola Bella, which is home to the Borromean family palazzo, and also Isola Madre, which has got really beautiful botanical gardens that you can take a stroll around as well. So lots to see, lots to explore, and then well worth a visit heading across the lake by boat. Lots to see in Lake Maggiore. And on this particular holiday, you'd stay at a different part of Lake Garda. So rather than Desenzano, here we normally use the town of Sirmione, which is a really beautiful lakeside promontory dominated by the old fortress called Rocca Scaligera, which has got some incredible views of the lake and the harbour. Again, as we said before, best way to really explore the lake is to head out by boat and travel to some of the other towns, like perhaps Desenzano or Peschiera, around the lake, so you get to fully see the different backdrops, different scenery, and just experience the sheer scale and beauty of this fantastic part of the world. So we already looked at the Bernina Express journey, this case heading into Switzerland from Italy. And then the next journey is the Glacier Express, the slowest express train in the world, they call it, which runs pretty much across Switzerland, in this case from St. Moritz across to Zermatt. And you've got on this train, like the Bernina Express, the wonderful panoramic windows that you can see here that stretch up all the way up to the ceiling. As you can see, everybody gets a fantastic view. Now, one thing that you may or perhaps may not know about the Glacier Express journey is that in 2019, yes, again, that seems an awfully long time ago, they launched a new class of travel. So as well as first and standard class, both of which have panoramic windows that you can see here, this is a relatively new class of travel called Excellence Class. And this is what you can see on the screen right now. So Excellence Class is basically a further upgrade from first class. It's pretty exclusive. There's only one carriage on the train, and it's a maximum of about 20 seats. So everybody gets a table for two, as you can see here, which lines up perfectly with the windows. And you also get a 5-course meal focusing on local Swiss delicacies included in the cost of the journey. And each course is accompanied with local wines too. You also get an aperitif at the Glacier Bar. You get your own concierge as part of the experience. So there's lots and lots included. Fantastic food, great scenery. If you would like to do this journey in maximum luxury and maximum comfort, this is a fantastic way to do it. And again, as it's relatively new, and sadly, not too many people got to experience it last year. It only launched in 2019, so it's something that not everybody is aware of. So a further way of taking in this wonderful journey. There's now 3 classes of travel: standard, first class, and excellence class. And if you are interested in the Pick Your Perk promotion, this might be a nice way of using that offer and perhaps using it to upgrade to excellence class on board this famous train journey. And speaking of famous train journeys, he said, almost like he knew what was coming next, we have the journey featured on this holiday: Lake Como, Lake Garda, and the Venice Samplon Orient Express, perhaps the most famous train journey in the world. So here we start off with a flight or a train journey from London to Milan via Paris if you're heading by train, and an overnight stay in Milan before spending 2 nights in Lake Como, 2 nights in Sirmione, Lake Garda, and then traveling on to Venice for a 2-night stay, including a walking tour of the Doge's Palace and an evening gondola tour as well. The next day, that's when you would board the Orient Express in Venice and travel north through northern Italy into Austria, then on through Switzerland for some really stunning alpine scenery on day 1. And then the following day, you would carry on traveling through France onto Paris, and then finally going through the Channel and crossing over to London. And this is some of that stunning alpine scenery that you would get to experience traveling through Switzerland in this case. On this part of the journey, this would be on the first day. You can see the famous carriages of the Orient Express there, and that wonderful alpine scenery as a backdrop. Absolutely beautiful, isn't it? Really, really stunning journey. But what is it like on board? I hear you cry. Well, this is what your cabin would look like as you board in Venice. This is set up for daytime. Again, you've got the period touches, of course, all period carriages, the Art Deco furnishings, and comfortable seating and a large window to take in that beautiful scenery. This is the main social hub of the train, the lounge car, the bar car, and it becomes particularly busy during the early evening, both before and also after dinner as well. There's normally a pianist who plays, and everybody would enter into the spirit of things by dressing up for the occasion. You see a lot of evening dress, black tie, and so on. Perfect opportunity to enjoy a drink, perhaps get to know some of your fellow travellers, or just sit back, relax, and take in the atmosphere. It really does feel like travelling back in time. Everything harkens back to the golden age of travel. Obviously, you've got the period cars, which help for that, of course, and the uniforms of the staff and so on. And it's a little bit of a cliche, but I tend to think that cliches are cliches because they're true in large part. It really does provide memories that will last a lifetime too, if you're lucky enough to be able to experience this particular journey. And this is one of the 3 dining carriages on board. Again, all the period touches, Art Deco and so on. Wonderful food, all of which is freshly cooked and prepared on board the train. You might actually see during the course of the journey the train stopping at a smaller station and receiving a delivery of perhaps bread or vegetables, something like that, to be used later that evening. You get plenty of food as part of this holiday. You're certainly very well fed indeed, excellent quality, and served immaculately as well. So a really, again, the dining experience is a very memorable part of the journey, and you get lunch, afternoon tea, evening meal, and breakfast also served within your cabin as well. So you certainly you won't want for more food during this most memorable of journeys. And whilst you're enjoying your evening meal, your cabin attendant will be hard at work and will turn your cabin into nighttime mode, ready for the evening. As you can see that the seating has been folded away, the beds have come down, and nestling at the bottom of the screen, we've got the Orient Express slippers in shot as well, of course. So this is what your cabin would look like in the evening. And again, one relatively recent addition, which you may perhaps not be aware exists, is the option to upgrade to a grand suite accommodation on board. Now, these, again, only launched a couple of years ago, and obviously, for sad reasons, of course, very few people got to experience them last year. So these are the grand suites, and there are only probably about 2 or 3 of those on any one train. So if you like the look of this and you'd like to really travel in style, the early bird catches the proverbial worm with this type of accommodation. You've got the full double bed, as you can see, separate seating area, separate bathroom. So really do get to travel in style. You get your own dedicated attendant who'll look after any requests or requirements you might have during the journey. So really is, maximum luxury. If you really want to splash out, well, you can't do much better than this particular type of accommodation on board. It really is something very, very special indeed. And as I say, relatively newly available, only in the last couple of years that you've been able to have. And of course, plenty of sightseeing activities that you can add whilst in Venice on this holiday, or indeed any of the other trips that we feature for that part of the world. All of the old favourites, from gondola tours and walking tours too, visiting the Doge's Palace, and also perhaps something unique to this particular destination and a little off the beaten track. You can visit the boatyards as well, where the gondolas and so on are created, something that's been part of life in Venice for generations, of course. We also have glass blowing, trips to the islands of Murano, Burano, and so on. There's lots of different sightseeing activities and experiences that you can add on to your stay in Venice. So that brings us to the end of our top 5 Italian lakes holidays. You can find all of these holidays and many more besides on our website, our newly revamped website as well, I should say. available at railbookers.co.uk. There's a couple of different ways that you can search for any of the holidays that you're looking for. You can search by destination if you know where it is you'd like to go, perhaps if it's one of the holidays you've looked at today, or indeed any other destination too. But there's also other ways that you can search too. You can search by the type of holiday you're looking for. So, for example, today, if you fancy heading over to the Italian lakes, there's a section entitled Lakes and Mountains. There's a luxury train selection. So if you like the Orient Express and would like to know what other types of holiday will be available either with the Orient Express or similar types of luxury train around the world, we've got city breaks, we've got section on overnight train journeys, lots and lots of different ways of finding the type of holiday you're looking for. If perhaps you know the sort of experience you'd like, but you're not sure exactly on the destination, lots of different ways of finding inspiration there. And again, if you'd like to know more about the Pick Your Perk offer we have at the moment, where we've got a series of, you can add up to £500 to add to your holiday and use that £500 to either upgrade your hotel, upgrade your train travel, add sightseeing, or just extend the holiday, whichever you prefer. You can choose how and where you can use that figure to upgrade your trip. Right, that brings us almost to the end of the webinar. In fact, time is marching on, so it brings us very close to the end. But before we do, let's see if we can answer perhaps one or two of the questions that have come through in the course of the webinar. Quite a few of them. I don't think we'll be able to sadly get around to all of them, but for any question that we don't manage to answer today, as I mentioned, one of the team will reach out to you probably tomorrow, won't be this evening, to make sure that we answer every single one way or the other. Right, let's have a look through. We've got, again, some people asking about the handouts. If you've had any trouble downloading those or accessing those, again, just let us know using the questions field. We'll make sure we email those over to you. Got a couple of people asking, is it possible to repeat some of the journeys? Murray, hello there, Murray, who's asking about, is it possible to repeat the cost of some of the holidays and the duration? There will be a link also, Murray, to a recorded version of this the webinar today as well. So if you'd like to watch it again, just to make a note of any of those details, we'll send those over to you. I've got a couple of people just saying hello. Great to have you with us. Gary from Chester, hello there. Always nice to know which part of the country people are listening to us from. Okay, we have a question here from who is it from? It's from Veronica. Hello there, Veronica. And Veronica's question is, I haven't traveled over to Italy by train before. Can you tell me what the luggage allowance is for a trip like this? Good question, Veronica. Well, the good news is that in comparison to, say, flying, for example, you can take a lot more luggage with you if you'd like to. So if there are no flights involved, you can take up to 2 items of luggage per person, plus 1 item of hand luggage. So I don't know about you, but I couldn't really carry too much more than that. So the other good news to go with that is that nobody is going to weigh it either on the way out or on the way back. So if it is substantially heavier on the return journey because you've indulged in some retail therapy and stocked up on souvenirs or presents for family and friends, whatever it might be, then you can do that to your heart's content. As long as you're happy looking after it, you know, you can take all of that back with you. Nobody's going to weigh the luggage, and as long as you're happy looking after it, it's all good. So thank you very much to that one, Veronica, and for your question as well, Murray and Gary as well. Let's see if we can maybe pick one more very quickly. Okay, we have a question from Nicole. This is just a quick one I think we can do about whether the boat trips that I mentioned across the lakes, are they included in the holiday, or are they separate? A good question. On some of the holidays that we feature, they are included, and some they're not. If they're not included, if you just want to use it just to head across the lake, it's quite an inexpensive thing to add on locally, Nicole. But we do have a couple of the holidays, particularly Maggiore. We've got some trips around to the Borromeo Islands, and where indicated, then they're included on the holiday. If not, if you'd like to add them on, perhaps using the pick your perk offer that we've got to add that option on in Maggiore, heading over to the Borromeo Islands, then we can do that. Just mention it when you inquire, and it's easy to add that to the holiday for you. Got a few more people. It's Murray again as one of them. Hello there, Murray. Asking about the link to the handouts. Yeah, we'll make sure we email those over to you within the next 24 hours or so. And for a couple of other people mentioning that as well. So yeah, we'll make sure we get those handouts and the link to the website for anyone who is interested. Yes, Nicole, you will definitely be able to use the Pick Your Perk promotion if you're interested. I can see you're asking about that. So yes, you could take advantage of that. It's only on for a limited time though, so make sure you check the website to check the deadline and make sure that you can get in time to use it. Right, I think that's about all we've got time for this evening. The time is marching on. I can see it. Sun is thinking about setting. It's been a nice sunny day here. Hope it's been nice weather where you've been. But most importantly, thank you for joining us on the webinar today. It's been great to have so many of you here with me this evening. I hope it's been useful and interesting, perhaps provided some inspiration, food for thought on some of those great destinations in Italy, the Italian lakes, and we've covered a little bit of Switzerland as well, haven't we? Please do stay safe, look after yourselves, probably the most important thing right now. And who knows, perhaps we'll get to have the pleasure of your company on another one of these webinars in the not too distant future. Have a great Tuesday evening, enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks once again for joining me today.